All right, let's dive into the NFL Divisional games. I'm going to the AFC and give my reactions from the Bills and Ravens, as well as the Chiefs versus the Browns. All of that coming up. 20 seconds. Now, after talking about the NFC Divisional games, let's go into the AFC Divisional games. And we're going to lead off with the Ravens and the Bills, which was our Saturday night special. That game was atrocious. It was boring. It was everything I expected to happen up in Buffalo with all the wind and the cold that they had. I'm going to be honest with you. Both teams offensively was not very good. Aaron Rodgers had the best weekend of everybody, followed by Patrick Mahomes, and I'll talk about them next. But both Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen struggled in that game. And you can tell that it was more environmental than it was skill set. Because at the end of the game, after Lamar came out with the concussion and also the fact that his center kept throwing the ball in the weirdest ways, which could be something to do with the wind, and the way that their offense is set up to where they would do the read options and stuff, hand placement, I think, does affect things. The Bills ended the game throwing the ball. Like, at that point, they stopped running because they couldn't get an effective run going, and so they kept going with the dumps. Like, Josh Allen was going deep on a regular basis. I think he went deep probably like 6 or 7 times, and his passes just were way off target. Normally, I would dive in on Josh Allen for stuff like that, but I knew that was environmental because he's had a stellar season with the receivers that he has, especially the way Stephon Diggs has helped elevate him and his confidence. He could throw it to him and not truly be concerned about it not being caught. And Stephon Diggs has always found a way to be butt naked open, in which somehow he was butt naked open against the Ravens when the Ravens knew that's who Josh Allen was going to go to. Why would you not just zone in and make sure Stephon Diggs does not get a single short play? Especially with the fact that the weather, the way the wind was just throwing things off. Let's put it to you like this. The wind was so brutal in this game. Justin Tucker, the most accurate kicker in NFL history, look him up, missed a 41 and a 46-yarder. The Bills kicker missed 2 40-yard field goals as well. That's typically an automatic spot. The wind said no. And the only time the wind lightened up was in the fourth quarter late. You could see in the broadcast they talked about that. And so Lamar struggled. Josh, for the most part, struggled. The Ravens' run game did better. But then Lamar made the mistake of making that pass in the end zone and got an intercepted that got returned for a touchdown. And if you watch the play, you can tell that what was developing, he was waiting for Snead to make the cutout. And I don't know who the running back was. I think it was J.K. Dobbins, missed the block on the blitzer, and Lamar had to rush it. No excuse for him throwing the interception, but he also threw it in a blue end zone to a guy in a blue jersey, and I couldn't see it. I didn't see the guy there at all. From the television, from the broadcast, I couldn't see him. And I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, whoa, where'd he come from? That is the type of situation that Lamar dealt with in that moment, and that was a bad pass on his part. So overall, the game was just brutal. I mean, let's go to the box score. One of the things I like to look at, time of possession. And let's go check out team stats, time of possession. The Ravens had the ball 35 minutes to the Bills 24. That should tell you everything. The Ravens dominated the ball. They were wearing out that Bills defense and just couldn't close. And it was one of those games where passing was not going to happen the way you think. I mean, as rocket of an arm as Josh Allen has and as great as he's played this season, he finished with 206. And I think most of his yards came in the fourth quarter at the end of the game when the wind was calmed down and Lamar Jackson was out with that concussion. Because his backup, Tyler Huntley, rookie, 6 for 13, 60 yards, he had some air yards on some of those passes. He had that pass to Marquise Brown that should have been a touchdown, but the wind picked it up and carried it an extra 5 yards to where there was no chance for Hollywood to catch it. That's the circumstance we dealt with in this game. And so I get the slander that Lamar is getting on this, and people are throwing their doubts out there. And yes, Lamar needs to get better in a lot of things. But the one thing that I noticed about this team, and I noticed it as soon as Huntley got into the game, that I haven't really seen when Lamar's out there, is whenever players go deep and the play's not working, when it didn't work for Huntley, you notice the wide receivers started coming back. Like they started coming back to catch passes from Huntley. You don't really see that when Lamar's out there. And I think the reason why is because Lamar can take off. So Lamar is a pocket passer if you pay attention to the way he plays the game. He stays in the pocket, sometimes too long, and he focuses on trying to get the pass up the field. Sometimes he needs to just throw it and hope his receiver can make the cut and catch it. But whenever the wide receivers aren't making separation or whatnot, they don't try to come back for the ball because it seems like they're giving him space to run, and then he just outruns the defense. That's what I noticed when Huntley came in and Huntley was out there throwing the pill, is that's where the space came in, because Marquise Brown came back. When Hollywood came back for that catch for him, I was like, why don't they do that for Lamar? And I see why now. That's probably the reason why they don't, is they know that he can take off, and it's a lot easier for him to take off with them down the field because he can just outrun and juke people, because an angle is not safe when it comes to Lamar Jackson. But overall, they both played in games. Josh Allen was very careful with his passes, and I'll give him mad props for that. He took care of the ball very well, and now we get to see what he looks like against the Chiefs defense, in which I think is a little better prepared for him, especially down there in Kansas City. We'll see what happens. That game was pretty blah. And so from there, let's go right into the team the Bills are going to face, which is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs and Browns game, to me, was really, really entertaining overall. Both of them kind of struggled for the most part. I mean, Patrick Mahomes ended the game at 250. I don't feel like it was the output I was expecting from him. They took a big lead, and then they let, for the most part, the Browns came back. And a lot of the comeback could be attributed to Mahomes coming out with a concussion as well, which we hope that he is healthy to come back and play. And then mistakes made by the Browns. Young mistakes. You can tell they were young mistakes. Like Rashard Higgins making that catch from Baker Mayfield and making the one mistake, breaking the one cardinal rule that Bill Belichick and his staff has when it comes to running towards the end zone, is you never reach for the pylon, never reach for the line. Because if you fumble and it goes out of the end zone, you just wasted an entire drive and you gave the other team the ball with a touchback. That's exactly what happened to them. Higgins went out there and I thought he had it, but he was hit. And now, there's questions behind that hit because it looked like the defender did drop the crown of his head and, in other words, speared him. But I guess because he was diving too, they let it slide. But it's a really weird rule because it did look like he dropped his helmet and hit him in Higgins' helmet. But they didn't call that. So you got that play, which would have, that would have opened up the game. The game would have been a hell of a lot closer if he had gotten that, because that was what that was your 10-16 score. And then we go into the next half. It could have been 17-19. But we didn't get that because of said fumble. So the Browns played their butts off. We got to give them mad prop. Baker Mayfield gets his win. He played a overall solid game based upon the numbers. A little iffy with some of the stuff he was doing. I mean, he finished at 204 only with 37 attempts. Him and Josh Allen had Yeah, that's a low per pass game that you would expect from guys like that who are known for being slingers, and Baker Mayfield being a super accurate guy. You would expect them to have more than that. Chiefs were ready for him. They were prepared. They got one sack, but they were prepared for that run game, which is just a monster. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt didn't really do much. And you would think Kareem Hunt, in a revenge game coming against his old team, that he would have a bigger game. Didn't work out. So the Chiefs did a really good job of holding on to the ball, not turning the ball over, which the Browns had 2 turnovers. Henne had that one interception in the end zone, which almost cost him this game because if you look at it, score was 22-17. There was a chance that the Browns could have came back and potentially won this game. But anything is possible. He did a really good job of keeping the ball in the right places to win, and so I can't be mad at him for that. That interception led to the Chiefs doing really good defense and forcing a punt, and that's where the game, for the most part, ended, where Henne did everything he needed to, and Andy Reid having the balls, as everyone's saying, brass balls, as a Glengarry Glen Ross salesman. He went out there and took a chance and did that little out deal to Tyreek Hill, who caught it and slid inbounds to run the clock out. So it's going to be fun next week watching the Chiefs play the Bills. Hopefully we do get Patrick Mahomes, because I really want to see Mahomes and Josh Allen really battle it out. I don't want to have any excuses of why one team doesn't win and the other one does. I want to see them duke it out and see which quarterback is truly the best. Especially because I would love to see a competition between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes to see who can throw the ball the furthest. We won't get that, but at the same time, really good divisional games overall. Some blah moments just because weather seems like it affected a lot, but at the same time, well, at that age, it was a solid weekend of football. So let's see what happens next week.